So I want to get into that and how it can sort of, why you really believe this can change the way we deal with borders and societies and nations and wars and all of this. But let's just circle back quickly to the split, this Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin split.
Yep, so when I first got excited about Bitcoin, you could send and receive any amount of Bitcoin with anyone, anywhere in the world, and it was free most of the time. The times it wasn't free, you'd pay a fraction of a penny. And that led Bitcoin from being, worth almost nothing to this worldwide phenomenon that it is today. But much more recently, within the last year or two, a bunch of people that don't have any background in economics or in business seem to think that people will use Bitcoin solely as a store of value, even if it costs tens or hundreds or thousands of dollars to send Bitcoin from one person to another. And so they've intentionally undermined Bitcoin's usefulness in commerce. So Bitcoin on August 1st split into two versions of Bitcoin. There's now Bitcoin SegWit and Bitcoin Cash. The Bitcoin Cash version of Bitcoin still has fees of less than a penny. You can send and receive them with anyone, anywhere in the world, just like that. Bitcoin SegWit, now the average fee is about $10. I did a Bitcoin transaction on the way here. In fact, I was sending my Bitcoin SegWit Bitcoins to a Bitcoin exchange to buy more Bitcoin Cash Bitcoins. The fee for me to send those Bitcoins from my computer to the Bitcoin exchange was $100. And so if you ask yourself, you have two versions of Bitcoin. One is slow, expensive, and unreliable, Bitcoin SegWit. And you have another version of Bitcoin that's super fast, reliable, and cheap. It's not a tough decision. And that's Bitcoin Cash. It's not a tough decision as to which one people are going to start using in commerce. But right, so I might be a little confused here. So when I'm telling you that I have 2.5 Bitcoin, when you say Bitcoin SegWit, that's the original, so to speak, right? Well, so that's debatable as well.
Okay.
So depending on when you received those 2.5 Bitcoins, it was probably from a bunch of people over time. However many Bitcoins you had on August 1st of this year, you now have that many Bitcoin Cash as well. So let's say you had 2 Bitcoins exactly on August 1st, you now have 2 Bitcoins and 2 Bitcoin Cash. Although I believe you said that you were holding your Bitcoins on Coinbase.
I did.
And as we were talking about before the show, Coinbase is a fantastic company, but it's not a Bitcoin wallet. It's a Bitcoin bank. And they're holding the Bitcoins on your behalf, and now they're holding the Bitcoin Cash on your behalf. And so you're going to have to wait for them to get around to giving you access to their Bitcoin Cash, which I think they will. But if you were using a Bitcoin wallet in which you're holding the Bitcoins yourself on your own device, you would have access to your Bitcoin Cash right there from day one.
So what do you mean I don't have access to it? If I was to right now log in and I got to do all that stuff on my phone and all the password craziness and all that, I'm very happy that you have to do all those things, obviously. What do you mean I don't have access to it?
You only have access to the Bitcoin SegWit version of Bitcoin on Coinbase today. They've promised to give everybody access to their Bitcoin Cash at some point, and hopefully they'll do that sooner rather than later. But August 1st was a couple of months ago now, and they still haven't gotten around to doing it. And I'm confident that they will, but it's nice to have access to your money now and not have to wait around for somebody else to do it. And that's why it's very important, and I always tell people, use a Bitcoin wallet, not a Bitcoin bank.
So why wouldn't everyone want Bitcoin Cash, though, unless I'm missing some?
I think everyone is going to want Bitcoin Cash.
So what's the logic? Yeah, what's the piece that I'm missing here?
The reason everyone's not using it yet is that this Bitcoin SegWit version of Bitcoin managed to bring along all of the existing infrastructure in Bitcoin that's been around for 8 years now. Bitcoin Cash has only been around a couple of months since August 1st, and the fact that Bitcoin Cash is now supported on the Bitcoin.com wallet. It's supported in the blockchain.info wallet. Coinbase has publicly said they're going to support it. It's supported in the BitPay wallet. It's getting more and more support from wallets and merchant processors and exchanges. I think it's a matter of time when people are faced between a fast, cheap, and reliable version of Bitcoin and a super slow and expensive and unreliable version of Bitcoin.
Right. But what's the argument from the slow people? The people that don't agree with you on this, what's the actual argument? If we're really just talking about slow speeds and a clunkier process, obviously that doesn't sound good.
So to have fast, cheap, reliable transactions on Bitcoin, it requires a more expensive computer to run a full node. But the vast, vast, vast majority of Bitcoin users aren't running a full node anyhow. You've probably never run a full node in your entire life. And nobody, none of these Coinbase users are running a full node. Coinbase runs a number of full nodes to support your Bitcoin transactions. So if you have the Bitcoin Cash version will require bigger blocks, which will require a more powerful CPU and more storage space. So right now, today, you can run a Bitcoin full node for the Bitcoin SegWit version literally on a $25 Raspberry Pi. These people are limiting.
What is that? Not a
A Raspberry Pi is a $25 computer.
Yeah,
And that's the name of the computer.
Oh, there's
an actual computer.
We run this thing
Raspberry
on
Pi.
Pies now, but wait, there's a computer called the Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, spelled PI, like the number.
Got it.
So,
you see, there's a lot of terms here.
every
Next
day.
thing you know, we're running this thing on cakes. Okay.
So you can run the Bitcoin SegWit version of Bitcoin on a $25 computer. Bitcoin Cash today can still run on a $25 computer. But in the future, as Bitcoin Cash becomes more popular, maybe it'll take a $100 computer, or even a $500, or even $1,000, or a couple $1,000 computer at some point. But that's okay. Most people aren't running full nodes anyhow. And if it costs $5 or $10 or $100 to use Bitcoin SegWit, and it costs a penny to use Bitcoin Cash, it's clear. So you've been accepting donations on your website. I think you got most of those donations before the price of Bitcoin transactions skyrocketed. And the reason the price of Bitcoin SegWit transactions skyrocketed is there's 1 megabyte worth of transactions that can happen each 10-minute period. That can hold about 2,000 Bitcoin transactions. In the early days, maybe 10 people were using Bitcoin every 10 minutes, so you could do it for free and your transaction would be included. Now that Bitcoin is this worldwide phenomenon, more than 2,000 people are trying to use Bitcoin every 10 minutes. But you want your transaction to be included in the blockchain. So if more than 2,000 people are trying to use it every 10 minutes, they have to bid against each other. And the top bidders are the ones that are included in the next block on the blockchain. So now the fees are about $10 per transaction, because anybody that pays $9 has been outbid by the people that are paying $10. So Bitcoin Cash's solution to that is, well, just make the blocks bigger than 1 megabyte. It's 2017. 8 terabyte hard drive is about $100 at the moment, and they're only going to get cheaper year after year.
Yeah. So your feeling basically is that the technology will always the computing power that we need for this will always sort of stay in front of the problems.
Right.
So just because it keeps getting faster and faster.
There's this great thing called Moore's Law, which is exactly that computing power doubles about every 18 months. And so if an 8 terabyte hard drive today is $100, in a year and a half from now, it's going to be about $50. And a year and a half after that, $25, and before you know it, they're garbage in the landfill. And people laugh at an 8 terabyte hard drive the same way we'd laugh at an 8 megabyte hard drive today. But I remember 8 megabyte hard drives, and I remember when they were several $100s. And I'm not that old of a guy, and the same is going to continue to happen with computers before we know it.
You mentioned Nintendo before. I remember when the first, I think it was 4 megabyte game came out on Sega Genesis.
It was a big deal.
And I remember, and people were going completely bananas about it. That is many lifetimes ago. Just real quick, let's circle back to this wallet versus bank thing, because I think maybe I could be a little clearer on what you're saying. So Coinbase as a bank is really just holding my Bitcoin. If I had this in a wallet, then that's actually part of the actual blockchain.
Right. If you have it in a Bitcoin wallet, you're interfacing directly with the actual Bitcoin network. Whereas when you use a Bitcoin bank like Coinbase, you're interfacing with Coinbase and you're saying, please broadcast my transaction to the Bitcoin network. And most of the time they do. But like your Bitcoin Cash at the moment, you don't have access to it. And I would actually recommend that on your website, you should put a Bitcoin Cash address up there. Because right now, if people want to tip you in Bitcoin, it's going to cost them $5 or $10 in network fees. So if they wanted to give you $1 in Bitcoin, they're going to have to pay $6 or $11 to do that. And I don't think too many people are going to do that.
These don't seem like the type of people that would make sense to.
Whereas if they wanted to tip you in Bitcoin Cash, $1, they'll have to send $1 and a penny. And that's very tolerable to people. And I'm more than happy after we record, I can show you the Bitcoin Cash wallet.
I'm going to say, I've got my own farm out there, servers, and we're going to fiddle around and see what we come up with. So then why would someone use a bank then?
I think they just didn't understand the difference, just like yourself. I think you didn't realize the difference between Coinbase and a real Bitcoin wallet up until now.
Fascinating. All right. Well, I think we did a pretty decent job there of the little stuff. Do you feel like we basically got the one? Am I missing something on the 101?
Yeah, for anybody that feels like they're missing anything on the 101, go to bitcoin.com. I'm a little bit biased because that's my website, but it's a fantastic resource. Get a Bitcoin wallet and start using it. It's like email. If you'd never actually used email and you only heard people discuss it on a talk show, it would seem hard. But once you've used it, it's easy. It's the same with Bitcoin. So go and actually use it, and use it with Bitcoin Cash, because it won't cost you $5 each time you use it. It'll cost you less than a penny each time you make a transaction.
All right. So the part of this, so shifting from all that, the part of this that I thought was really interesting, beyond just the financial discussion and just sort of the way that the future of commerce is going to work and all that, is you really believe that Bitcoin can change the way governments act, the way we as individuals respond to and talk to our governments and all of that. So I'm giving you sort of a broad question there, but tell me